Hey everybody, this is Audra here at Homesteading in Idaho. I live in southwest Idaho with my husband and our two boys, the oldest, which is almost an adult. So I've got some mouths to feed around here, and we have a small homestead, and the goal here is to raise or grow as much of our own food as possible. So a lot of you probably saw that article that was released last week, letting people know, hey, it's another drought year, and gardeners, you've got to do your part to conserve water. Which kind of cracked me up because they didn't address golf courses, swimming pools, water features in subdivisions, and water features in the cities. It's on the gardeners. We're going to conserve that water for you. And it kind of cracked me up because a lot of gardeners are thinking conservation and water saving, and homesteaders are thinking, it's just kind of cracked me up. I was like, really? But it was kind of sad reading that article. I mean, it frustrated me. Reading the article frustrated me. What made me sad was when I went to the comments section underneath that article, and I couldn't believe how many people were saying, okay, cool, I'll do my part. I won't garden this year. Or, okay, it's fine. I'll just do a small garden. Or, I'll really cut back. Did you guys miss where the president said we've got a food shortage? Have you missed the fact that we've had a shortage before the president said we've got a shortage? I hope y'all aren't that asleep. And I'm trying to be really kind here. But the answer is not to not garden. The answer is garden smarter. It saddened me, and you can kind of probably tell, it really frustrated the heck out of me, and it got me fired up. I went that evening to the store. This isn't all that I bought, but this is just a selection. I've been planting. I went and bought more seeds. I have tomato seeds, but I knew reading those comments that there is going to be an even larger demand for food than was already going to be there, if that makes sense. We already have a demand for food that's not being met. And now you've got people saying, well, I won't garden. So somebody's got to fill in those gaps. So I did. I started a whole bunch more seeds. I've got 3 trays. I just started again last night, just of tomatoes. And tomato, it's a superfood in the garden. Personally, I don't like raw, fresh tomatoes. It's just me. There's something about them. I just can't handle them. But tell you what, I can make some insanely good sauces and pastes and just so much good stuff. And in our family alone, at minimum, every single year, I have to putting away, storing at bare minimum 120 cans of tomato sauce, paste, things of that nature, because we cook with it so often. Tomatoes are so versatile in how you can cook with them. And besides canning, I also dehydrate them. I've made a really good dehydrated powder that I just stumbled on. So I'm making my own seasonings, which kind of cracked my husband up. We were at the store, and so I've got 2 seasonings that I've been making, and I'll share it with you guys. One's an Italian base, and one's a Mexican base, like for taco night. And we're at the store, and there was a container. I don't have anything in here to really control. Yeah, I don't really have anything to compare it to in the greenhouse. It wasn't big. Okay, actually, hold on. Y'all are jiggling. I keep cinnamon in the greenhouse to keep pests out of my plants. So it was like probably 4 of these. And this is 2.5 ounces. So it's probably 10, 12 ounces of some sort of a powder. It was a tomato powder seasoning. And the cheapest he saw at the store was like $5 and some change. And then they went up for that same size, depending on the brand. You guys know how it goes. And he looks at me and he says, I am so glad that you're doing it at home, because I'm saving my family money. And it's just like, yeah, heck yeah, I am. But it's things like that people aren't thinking about. They're thinking about those fresh vegetables. They're thinking about what they can, which is phenomenal. I'm so glad. Eat fresh out of your garden, can it up. But there's a lot more options, and I'm going to be bringing that to you guys. We're going to explore these options. Your world is going to be blown open at how you can be feeding your family this year, saving a ton of money. I mean, the possibilities are endless. I know I started this whole conversation on conserving water, so I'm going to bring you some ways that we conserve water. So right now, why don't I share 3 different ways that I conserve water, whether it's in the greenhouse. We're hanging out. It's a Harbor Freight greenhouse. So where, I save water in here or even outside. Now, I would take you all outside right now, but this is April in Idaho, which means I step out that door. This morning it was snowing and 39 degrees. And it's windy as heck out there. There's rain, there's snow, there's grapple, there's hail. It's been a fun day, but you can't hear me over the camera very well because of the wind. So I'm not going to take you outside, but I have a ton of different ways to share with you on how as gardeners and homesteaders, we can conserve water. So, all right, let me grab some items. I'm going to show you 2 of them, and then I'm going to have to take the camera and turn it around and show you the other one. All right, so this is just 2 examples right here, and then I said 3. I'm not forgetting that 3rd one, but these are just 2 examples that are easy to show you guys. First one is a soaker hose. These hoses are so phenomenal. You can lay them right next to your plants, and it's going to soak that water right into the soil for your plants. It's putting the water where you want it versus, a sprinkler. It's up, it's sprinklering everywhere. If you have even a slight breeze, you're watering something else. That's not conserving water. We want to put the water exactly where we want it. So another option, drip line. Again, it's going to put that water right where you want it. It's just dripping and, into the soil. That one, see, I love soaker hoses. I mean, they've got their cons too. Like and I love drip lines, but drip lines, they kind of move the soil a little bit more. Depends on how you've got them set. I don't know. They're a little frustrating if they're not set correctly, whereas the soaker hose is almost set it and forget it. Like, I don't know. It's been pretty no fail for the most part. So, all right, I'm going to grab the camera and turn it around because I got to show you. Because if I pick this up, I'm going to end up drenched in what I don't want to leave the plants, and I'll show you. All right, this is one of my seed areas, and these guys are on, I don't know, what do you call these? These are plastic things for pastries, and like, I think this one was for fruit or salad, something like that. I get these for free. I ask family and friends, I'm like, hey, I know some of you guys enjoy eating that type of stuff. Instead of recycling it or throwing it away, I'll happily reuse it. And then eventually I'll recycle it. So anyway, it holds, and this was something I actually stumbled on by my light bulb turned on last year, because as I would water my my container plants, I was so frustrated at the loss of water and nutrients. I mean, I put nutritional soil and fertilizer into these, and when you water it and you watch it all going away, it was very frustrating. So this was my answer to that. It holds the water and the nutrition right there, and my plants can reabsorb it. It's worked very, very well. I'll show you some more. Okay, so maybe you guys can see these pretty well. These are like feed troughs, water troughs, whatever, for an animal. This was another really great thing. And yeah, I know that's a weed, that's lamb's quarters, but you can eat lamb's quarters. I know. And I've got some dead plants, or some that just haven't quite emerged from their hibernation. Kind of like these goji stems. Some of them are waking up. But anyway, in there, if you can see down in there, it's got their water in there. So these plants are staying moist. And that's just another way that I've been able to conserve water and have it where I want it. And actually, it's been surprising. It really doesn't evaporate that quickly. So it works. Those are just a few ways that you can be conserving water as a gardener, homesteader. There's a few ideas. So I will be taking you guys out and shooting some videos of how I conserve water out in the gardens. But if you're like me and you're one of those folks, you're like, hey, share that information so I can start utilizing it right now. I'm just going to share it with you now, and then you can catch those later videos. So I use wood chips a lot. It's really great for animal bedding, soaking up mud, things like that. But you put it in your garden, and it holds that moisture so well. Last year, we had a whole month and a half where we never went below 100. It was 100 plus for a month and a half solid. It was miserable. And other people were talking about, now I'm not going to sugarcoat it. I did have some garden sections die. They just couldn't handle it. And that was because my soil in those sections is not amended correctly enough yet, if that makes sense. I haven't built that soil up to where it needs to be, but I'm working on it. So it was easy to see, okay, that was a problem area last year. We're going to fix it. But my ones that I've had for multiple years, I only had to water them once every few days or once a week, whereas everybody else was just really pumping that water to those plants. Mine were fine. And it was because I have so much wood chips in there, and I use the fertilizer from our animals, and I also use grass clippings. I will, once we've planted, I will put grass clippings as we mow on top of those, not on the plants, around the plants, but on top of the fertilizer and wood chips. And it does a really amazing number for your garden, just holding in that moisture. So that's something you can be utilizing right now. Now, if you have brand new garden soil and you're like, I'm putting those wood chips right in right now, you do need to pull your wood chips away from your plants when you plant. You don't want them too close to the stems. Seedlings, you're going to want to clear a trough and put your seeds in there so they can emerge. So wood chips, they're phenomenal, but you have to use them right. Another issue with wood chips, in the one garden, we just do the layering method. Animal compost, the wood chips, and then the grass mulch. In my other one, I experimented, and we put in the animal fertilizer. I'm holding my thermometer. You probably saw that. I was looking at the temperature because I'm like super hot, had to open the window. I know, squirrel moment. It's over 90 degrees here in the greenhouse, and it's freezing cold. Well, it's not freezing, but it's cold outside. Where was I? Anyway, in the other garden, I was like, well, and this was when I was pro rototiller. Nowadays, the rototiller doesn't do a whole lot. Anyway, I took the fertilizer from our animals, and I took the wood chips, and I tilled that in like crazy. And it was a pretty good garden that first year. Now, where it went was a section of area where it had just been lawn. So I knew I needed to be amending that soil very, very quickly for us to be planting in it. So I took all of that. I mean, it was many inches deep. We probably put 2 feet worth of wood chips in there, and probably a good foot, 18 inches worth of compost fertilizer that we got between our animals, and then a neighbor, he gave us a bunch from his cattle. Anyway, we put it in there like crazy, and I should have done the layering method. But I was like, I got to do something. I'm going to rip this soil. So I tilled it in like crazy, and the garden was okay. But I noticed I had issues with my tomatoes and some other plants. I noticed some problems, and I was like, this is interesting. What's going on here? Well, nitrogen in your soil, when you add wood chips, it depletes big time. Wood chips will rob your soil of nitrogen. And even though I put fertilizer in, I didn't put the right kind of fertilizer. I should have been putting worm casting soil in there. I should have been putting chicken manure in there. I mean, it had some chicken manure, but not nearly enough. So lesson learned. That fall, I let chickens work it till spring. And oh my gosh, the garden we've had ever since. And then in the other gardens, because I learned from it that year, I just make sure that I have either the worm castings or the chicken manure, stuff like that, high nitrogen, and I toss it in there when I'm doing the layering. Anyway, that's in case you guys, some of you, if you're like me, you're like, give me this information. I'm going to do it right now. And that's why I'm sharing that with you. In our driveway, we just had a standard driveway when we moved in, just, gravel driveway. And I think it's been a few years ago now, I started putting wood chips along one edge of the driveway. I was like, let's see if something can happen here. I mean, it's literally gravel. It's just a desert. I mean, I live in the desert, but it's a desert right there. It's hot and gross. And it's easily been 2 seasons, maybe more. I grow cantaloupe and melons of other sorts. I grow squash. We grew flowers. We had potatoes, tomatoes, onions. I don't remember. But that along the side of the driveway, growing in deteriorated soil. So originally it was just the wood chips. And then I started, when I would clean out our animal pens, I would layer that on and then put some more wood chips. And this year we've got it set up where hopefully we're growing a variety of pumpkins and squash. We're going to try to grow, I think we've got some onions up there now, more flowers, of course, you want a pretty driveway. But anyway, the thought was take this space that's not being used and utilize it. So anyway, there's just another idea for you. It's amazing little nooks and crannies that you can find on your property and say, you know what, we're going to grow something right there. All right, I've talked too much. So if you guys have any questions, shoot me some comments, questions. Just a comment, even, whatever. Give me a thumbs up, thumbs down, whatever. But it's been fun talking to you guys. Hope you guys are excited for this year. I hope you're gardening and growing your own food in one way or another. All right, y'all. I'll catch you later.